one's going to be real quick. This is just how to find the most common isotope of an atom. So when we're looking for the most common isotope of the atom, we first need to go back to what is an isotope. And when we look at what is an isotope, it is actually just an atom of the same element that has different numbers of neutrons. Remember, neutrons are glue that hold together the nucleus. Sometimes they have more glue than others. So when we're looking for the most common isotope, we're going to look at the periodic table. When we look at the periodic table, that is an average of all the known isotopes. It's actually a weighted average that we're going to calculate here in a little bit. So when we look for the most common isotope, we're going to take the mass from the periodic table and round it to the nearest whole number. When we round it to the nearest whole number, that's going to give us the most common isotope or most common variety of that element. So on the next slide here, I have the examples. We have oxygen, tin, calcium, bromine, and tungsten. What we need to do to find the most common isotope is we're going to look up the mass number on the periodic table, and when we look at the mass number on the periodic table, just round it to a whole number, and then you're going to give that mass number with the name of the isotope, just like we had in the last section. So you can write the name or the symbol unless it specifies, and you're going to give the mass number. So again, I'm going to swap over to my document camera here. And when I swap over to my document camera, we're going to look at the periodic table. I don't know why that's looking at me and not my... Sorry, let me unplug it and plug it back in. Well, oh, there it goes. Okay, it just didn't switch over for some reason. I don't know what's happening. Sorry. Okay, so we have the periodic table here. And when we have the periodic table, we're going to look up oxygen first, because we want to know what is the most common isotope of oxygen. Oxygen on the periodic table has a mass that's an average of 15.9994. When we round that to a whole number, that is 16. So you can write it like this, oxygen dash 16. You can write it as a symbol, O16, like that. You could write it like this, O-16. That is all the same answer. It doesn't matter how you want to write that. If you want to give the mass number, get fancy. Not the mass number, the atomic number. You could put the 8 there too, but that's not necessary. Just the 16 is the important part. So the most common variety of oxygen, most common mass, is oxygen 16. Tin is the same thing. You have tin 118.71. So if we're looking for 118.71, that's going to round to 119. So tin 119 is the most common isotope for tin. Calcium is here, Ca. Calcium has a mass of 40.08 when it's rounded. We're going to round that to a whole number, so that's just going to round to 40. So calcium 40 is the most common isotope. Bromine is right here. Bromine's mass, 79.90. It's going to round to a whole number to 80. So bromine, 80, is the most common isotope. And then finally we have tungsten. Tungsten is right here. Tungsten's mass rounds to 183.84, so that's going to round to 184. So tungsten 184 would be how you write that, or you could write out tungsten dash 184, it doesn't matter. So I tried to give you a variety of ways that you could have written it. If it said symbol, you'd have to give the symbol in one of these two ways. If it said the name, you'd have to write it like this. But no matter what, if you know the mass of the isotope, you have to give it in the answer.